We're on the phone with Buzzy Linhart because it's the Buzzy Linhart Show.
Hey, hooray. Oh, that's me.
Featuring Bill Cosby, Sandy Barron, Bobby Hebb, and Jimi Hendrix.
What would you do if your mama gave you a bath in Jell-O?
Hey, Buzzy Linhart, we just followed Democracy Now! Anything to say about that?
I love the show. Boy, it's informative in a scary way, but it's best to know the truth. Amy Goodman, I've been seeing her at demonstrations well over 10 times in the past 40 years.
What, in Berserkly?
Marches in New York City with her and Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, and she's been there since the beginning. I'm going to tell my caregiver he can go to the store. Joe, I'll be 10 seconds.
He'll be 10 seconds. And next week we've got James Tappy Wright, who was the road manager for Jimi Hendrix. And we've got him on Soapbox and the Buzzy Linhart Show. It's a first here at WinCAM. We're going to have a guest.
Listening to it once, two.
Hey, Buzzy.
Does it once? Yes.
We have a first happening next week at 7:30. We're going to do an interview with James Tappy Wright.
Yes, Jimmy's roadie.
Yes.
Jimmy with an I.
Did you know James Tappy Wright?
Yes. I don't recall which guy he was, but I know the name, and I know he worked for him when I was recording at the studio, Electric Lady Studio.
So I'm going to send you the book ASAP. You'll have it. And then we're going to have him on Soapbox the very next night at 7:30. So we'll have 2 interviews with James Tappy Wright. And what's lovely, Buzzy, for our book will be the only book that has interviews with the people that wrote books about Hendrix.
Good point. That's wonderful.
You know, we could have a DVD. We've got Roby. We have David Henderson. Are we talking to Moogie tonight?
I was unable to reach him in time to find out if we could do it. I left him a message, and if he calls back in time, we'll do it. He's in New York, but he's mixing a new album and producing another couple bands at the same time. The guy works so hard. He must have produced 150 records, 200 records. It's phenomenal that Moogie Klingman loves to teach and help produce albums. So many people have gained by it.
Well, I'm putting stuff in the mail to you tomorrow. I've got Mick Servino, Vampy's friend from Soapbox.
Yes.
And I've got 9 instrumental tracks to send you tomorrow in the mail, and the same to Vampy. And I'm thinking of buzzing down to New York, if you will, and hanging out with Moogie and maybe having him work on one of the instrumentals.
That's a good idea. He could prepare something, and then you send it to me.
Well, you know, we could really get Moogie and Buzzy back on this whole project. It could be fun.
Yeah, we always love working together, and it's been a few years, so...
And this show, I see this show expanding, so we're still working out the kinks. But once we have our audio down and once we have... right now we're just having fun, and it's great to have Buzzy on the air every single week.
And Joe Viglione, one of the greatest reviewers of movies and records on the whole planet.
I'm very excited if I could talk about that, man. I was supposed to see John Cena's new movie yesterday, the WWE guy.
Yes.
You know, and this is his 3rd movie. And I had to fight the First Amendment battle in court in the morning, and then in the afternoon we had a historian, the biographer of James Monroe.
Wow.
Harlow Giles Unger was on our show yesterday, and I couldn't get to the movie in Boston, Buzz. They mailed me the DVD. Now, this is fascinating. These are reviewer copies of new movies coming out.
And what's his new movie about, Joe?
It's, I haven't seen it. I just got the thing in the mail, and it's in the car. But the point I'm trying to make is they mail you these DVDs, so you get to review them, and then you got to mail it back to them, and it's watermarked, so it can't be copied because it'll have all sorts of glitches.
I see.
But it's a fascinating new thing, so I couldn't make it to the theater. They mailed me the movie with a return envelope to mail it back.
Great.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I got Bluesheimer's, man. I should know the title of Cena's movie, and it's, you know, without the web, I'm lost without the computer in front of me.
Uh-huh.
And Ken Canavas, my engineer, said that we have too much. We're so wise because we're older. We got too much in our brain.
Yeah, and we got to figure out how to eke it out in the right order and priority.
So I'm excited about all this Hendrix stuff because of the 40th anniversary.
And let me mention to our friends, since many don't know yet, Joe and I are among the folks who are quite positive that poor Jimi Hendrix was actually murdered. I didn't want to speak about it until all the dangerous people from the inner circle were equalized or had passed away, and now that's happened. It's been a few years, but now the lady who was with him when he died, who was the person I didn't want to cause trouble for, she's gone. So we're gonna be telling the true story, and we have corroboration from all kinds of people, from Jimmy's band and close friends, etc. It's so outrageous, and we have to protect each other. Is all I could say. And he was worth too much money, and made the mistake of challenging his manager about missing monies when he really should have had a lawyer do that presentation. But Jimmy let him know ahead of time when he came back from the Isle of Wight that he would no longer be working with Mr. Jeffrey, his manager. So it's a story, a heck of a story, and just so sad because one of the leading composers of this century should be wiped out so early in life before we don't even know which direction he would have gone at this point. We just know it would have been better and better and gooder. Okay, Joe. So
well, a tragedy here, and then we'll bring up another topic. Tragedy here is that he probably would have worked with you with the vibraphone, and there's God knows what would have happened with both your careers had you gone into a jazzy direction with Jimmy.
Oh, yes, I know.
And drifting only touches upon that, and we've got loads of mixes of drifting. But here's the other topic, Buzzy. You're going to like this. On Monday, I interviewed Brian Delaney, the author of the Longevity Diet, okay?
Yes.
Now, the Longevity Diet was the work of his co-author's father, and the guy passed on, so the daughter in Brian Delaney finished this book on longevity through eating healthy.
Yes.
However, he is a guitar player, and he lives in Stockholm now, but he was brought up in Massachusetts. When he heard that you and I are writing the Hendrix book, because the publicist was here, and we're talking to her about this book I'm holding in my hand, Becoming Jimi Hendrix by Stephen Roby and Brad Schreiber.
Who took the idea from us, Joe?
Well, I did kind of tell the publicist that, but I said, look, I'm going to interview Brad Schreiber on Soapbox, but I want you to know this was our idea. She goes, well, how do you know they weren't writing it before you guys? I said, because we had it published in Metronome magazine 5-6 years ago. She goes, oh.
Oh, that little thing.
Yeah, so, but she's really nice. I love her, and that's all I'm going to say on that. But here's the good news. Brian Delaney's on the show, and he said that he has a theory about Jimi Hendrix, that Jimmy played microtones, and he explained these as the note in between the note.
Yes.
So when people thought he was stoned or drunk and playing like out of tune, he was actually playing in between notes and knew exactly what he was doing.
Yes.
It's true?
And it's very, sure, but it's very common in East Indian music to use those quarter steps. And when it's something that's not familiar to you, it can sound as if it's wrong. Also, we must remember nowadays, when you use a guitar with slinky strings, this is very important, folks. Jimmy was one of the first guys to say, hey, I could do more if these strings were lighter. So he would buy a guitar string and move them all over one notch, so it'd be super slinky. And then for the little one, he would use a banjo string, so it could be a relative strength and would match the other strings in tension, but would be, more flexible. So nowadays we have sets of strings that are made to bend and made to bend slinky, and believe it or not, there's a tuning pegs you can get that every time you bend, your string goes back in pitch. So if you pull it out of pitch a little, it goes right back to exact concert tone. Now, in the old days, they didn't have those, so when Jimmy would stretch his strings on this homemade slinky set, he would stretch it out of tune, and he had no other choice at the time. So there's a lot of things of Jimmy playing live. They didn't have monitors to be able to hear your voice and your instrument that well back then. Now it's like being in the studio with earphones. They have your own mix for the stage. You'll hear everything the other guys play. But back then, he wouldn't even know if he had stretched out of tune to be able to even pull it back in tune. So it's so amazing that some people were angered by that and others loved it. Janis Joplin would sing in quarter tones, making a lot of people think, oh, that lady sings out of tune. No, she's bending the note, and she's brilliant, so you can trust her.
That is amazing stuff, Buzz.
Yeah, we never get to talk about this. I mean, the average person in normal life, this is just stuff being in a band.
Well, people don't realize how musical you are. They think of your songwriting, they think of your great stage performances, but you are very in tune musically, and you think on a whole other level, and people don't understand that. I had a lovely conversation Sunday night with Nat Simpkins, who was Bobby Hebb's best friend in the 80s and 70s.
Wow.
And he's played with members of Duke Ellington's band and Count Basie's band. He said to me Sunday night, in all seriousness, that Bobby Hebb was the greatest living musician. And this guy's played with everyone, and he wasn't using hyperbole. And that is the tragedy here, Buzzy. This guy was that musical. He was that above everyone else.
I know he was so musical that he was playing exactly what we needed to hear, but knew not to show the other. Can you imagine what he was hiding? Oh, man.
He really worked, like Jimi Hendrix, on this other level. And what really pisses me off is that these record labels are so inept and bungling. Sure, they got Sonny out there, right?
Yeah.
But how do you let someone go that just hit you a grand slam?
Right.
It wasn't a hit, it was a grand slam.
One of the absolute biggest selling records of all time. You don't happen to know where it's on the list of
number 25 on BMI's all-time list.
Number 5?
25.
25, I see.
And they go by airplay, not covers. If you go by covers, Sonny's got to be number 5 around there, or number 3. It's
amounts that sold and how many different versions were done, huh?
BMI goes by how many spins on the radio, and the number 1 BMI song is the Righteous Brothers from Ghost, Unchained Melody.
I see.
And again, getting into a movie and being the song in the movie that's played twice, and the movie's huge, like the Dirty Dancing soundtrack.
I got to get a song in the movie. Yeah, Dirty Dancing, boy, that just pushed a whole other style, pushed dance music way to the front too, didn't it, for a while?
But here's something really important, Buzzy. Think about this.
Okay.
I was in New York with Jimmy Miller, and we were at RCA Records with Wendy Goldstein.
Jimmy Miller, the great producer of the Rolling Stones for years and years.
Exile on Main Street. And Wendy Goldstein, A&R, great lady. And we're sitting there, she said, guys, we had no idea about Dirty Dancing. Our warehouses are empty. We had no idea the audience would be that, rabid for this record. And they had multiple pressing plants going overtime, round the clock.
They had so many orders.
Right. Now, Dirty Dancing was an independent movie with Patrick Swayze. And you being in movies, Buzzy, independent means that a major distributor handled it, but it was made without the big Hollywood budget.
Yes.
So, when you listen to Dirty Dancing, the album, originally, I felt they slopped it together.
Uh-huh.
My $300 compilation albums with, $300 mastering jobs that I'd pay, we had a much better mastering than Dirty Dancing. They really just threw it together and got it out there. They must have had a deadline.
Uh-huh.
But it was uneven from song to song. I'm sure they fixed it later, but it really amazed me at how haphazard that album was, and it didn't matter. The audience wanted it. It was all about knowing the movie.
So, for instance, like the volumes between tracks always matched because they were from different sessions?
Right, yeah. Do You Love Me by the Contours and Be My Baby and
Yeah.
and that great Bill Medley. Bill Medley again, right? Two big movies for him, Ghost and Dirty Dancing. How's that?
Yeah.
Bill Medley and Jennifer Warnes doing Time of My Life.
And that darn song had been out, since 1964.
Was it The Time of My Life?
No,
Oh, Do You Love Me? The Contours.
no, the version of the ballad by the Righteous Brothers that came out on the album.
But I'm talking about Dirty Dancing again. Yeah, the Ghost thing is amazing. Yeah, the Ghost.
Shows there can be a song waiting, and until there's the right vehicle. Look how everybody loves that song. It's just how do you get it played?
Well, and here's the point.
Yes.
There's no radio anymore. You really have to go to film. You must wine and dine the film people and hope you get in the right movie that actually clicks.
Yes.
Now, you got into Shrek, which is amazing.
And we didn't even try, but they had hoped to perform the whole song Friends in Shrek #1. But the publishing company is that if anybody wants to put it in a movie, you're welcome to. It's available just $55,000. They went from the next person who used it for a major project. And when Shrek came out, they had no idea how it was going to explode. They believed in it, but they had no idea. So they had to pick the few songs that they had a big enough budget to do full versions. And, of course, they did Bad Reputation and a few others. We got, what did we get, $15,000 for the donkey, Eddie Murphy, to recite the first 3 lines of Friends. They couldn't even use the actual melody because the company wanted another $10,000-15,000 for that. So
Wow.
I'd been hoping that they would finally do a complete version of Friends, but it looks like Shrek is almost over, and
Now,
they didn't get a chance to.
You're saying Eddie Murphy singing it?
He recites it. He goes, I am all alone. People are chasing him, and he has nowhere to go. And he asks Shrek if he can stay over in his house in the forest. So Shrek says, absolutely not. So he says, he recites it because they didn't pay enough to use the melody. So Eddie Murphy goes, I am all alone. There is no one here beside me, and my problems have all gone. There's no one to deride me. But you gotta have friends. And when he says friends, Shrek puts his hand over his mouth and says, okay, donkey, but one night only. And he says, and we're gonna make pancakes, right? So it wasn't actually performed, and yet thousands of 5-year-olds recite that line, and they don't even know what song it is. So I know it's the little song that could. It has not happened yet. Bette Midler sang it really. She almost, some people won't sing it because they're saying, how are you going to follow Bette Midler just destroying a great song? You'll never, no one will ever listen to your version. But it hasn't been done in a manner, in all the ways that it could be. And I think Friends are more important to us than anything right now. We tried not to share because we had to take care of #1 first, and it hasn't gotten us far enough. So I think we all know that it's necessary to share right now, Sonny.
Well, now we come to the portion of our show at 7:24 in the p.m. on August 26th, It's Shaka Pifi time. Are you ready?
424. What a coincidence. 424 in Berkeley, California. Give us the Shaka Pifi.
Okay.
How is this connecting something else to what's connecting today, Joe?
What's connecting is this. Do you know the movie the Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps?
Yes, where they pass gas around the table.
And Eddie Murphy's in it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what song they use only a little tiny bit of? Sunny.
Oh my God, Shaka Pifi.
So I should send it to you. It's very strange. They do a rap song, and they use parts of Bobby Hebb's Sunny in another Eddie Murphy movie. So now we got Bill Cosby, Jimi Hendrix, all the connections between you and Bobby Hebb, Sandy Barron, and me. And now you got Eddie Murphy. So there are 5 Bobby connections.
Uh-huh.
You know, he left the Del Morocco in Nashville. Jimi Hendrix went to the Del Morocco with Bobby's friends, DeFore Bailey Jr., and Bobby went up to the Blue Morocco in New York with Sylvia Robinson of, you know, Love is Strange fame and Pillow Talk.
Ian and Sylvia.
Right. It became Bobby and Sylvia. No, not Ian and Sylvia, but Mickey and Sylvia.
I'm sorry, Mickey and Sylvia, absolutely. And I forgot about that. Yes, they joined together as a duo.
And so it was Mickey and Sylvia, and then Mickey went to France, and Bobby and Sylvia played Love is Strange every night, and they did 145 on Battle Records. Bobby and Sylvia.
And I can guarantee you people, because I was the right age in that the lick in Love is Strange, love is strange, many people take it for a game, and there's a guitar break, da 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 da. That's the first time that lick hit pop music, and of course, it's in hundreds of songs now.
Well, you know, Bobby himself used it when he played on Dave Baby Cortez's Rinky Dink.
Oh, my.
It's the Love is Strange riff, and it's Bobby playing it. It's the solo to the hit record, number 10 record for Baby Cortez.
Man, I can't believe that some people record Love is Strange. A famous person recorded Love is Strange, and they didn't put the da 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 da. They left it out totally. I just couldn't believe it.
Well, you know who did do it and was very nice was Paul McCartney and Linda on the very strange album they did, which I adore. It was before Ram and after the McCartney album, the second Paul McCartney album with Paul and Linda and Denny Lane. And they did Love is Strange. It was a real laid-back record they just kind of did for fun.
Yeah, but they didn't put that lick in there, Joe.
Oh, they didn't?
I believe it was them that left that lick out. And
that would have been weird because Denny Lane was in the band. That's weird.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Well, we'll have to check that out.
Wow.
My gosh. Sir Paul McCartney.
So you got Bobby and Jimmy at the Del Morocco, and then you got Bill Cosby being friends with Bobby and friends with you, and then you got Sandy Barron, and then you got Joe Vig, and now number 5 is Eddie Murphy because of Shrek and the Clumps. How weird is that?
Yeah, that is.
And it's 7:27, so I just thought I'd bring that up. A Shaka Pifi moment.
Hooray. Did anybody, did you ever find out, did they pay Bobby well to use that little bit in the movie? Did you happen to know about it?
I never asked specifics, but Bobby was very well off.
Uh-huh.
And he worked for the government. People don't realize that he worked for the Mass Highway Department. And I know why. He didn't have to work. But Bobby wanted discipline in his life. He didn't want to live the rock and roll lifestyle, so...
Did he count cars for them or something? What did he do?
Oh, this is great. It's great. When I went up and visited him, he had like a suit on. He was at a desk. But they told me that when the snowplows went out, it was Bobby Hebb on the walkie-talkie. So if you're in the snowplow, it's Bobby's voice telling you, you know, where you got to go for your route.
Wow.
And, you know, the Sunny guy, he must have been singing Sunny in the Snow, you know? But he told me he would get up at 5 in the morning. He would write a song. And then he had a very nice car, but he'd leave the car in Rockport and he would get on the train and take the train into Boston. go to work, come home. He was happy to have, like, insurance for his daughter, health insurance he didn't worry about, and a stability and just a discipline. He just wanted to be off of the rock and roll circuit.
Yeah, it's not something to count on, that's for sure.
Well, he didn't have to worry about it. Like Marty Ballin, he's independently wealthy. So, you know, he didn't have to worry about paying the bills because the money was there from the songs. He had that other big hit, A Natural Man, for Lou Rawls.
Natural Man.
So Bobby did fine, but he wanted that discipline, and it really is amazing how someone... Now, Buzzy, here we go. Marty Ballin called me Monday or Tuesday. And he said, you want to make me famous. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to end up like Jimmy and Janis.
Yeah, he doesn't need all that extra aggravation. He has the basics covered.
You know, he's happy, and I got him these gigs. He just doesn't feel like going out there and being the rock star. He likes being a part-time rock star. And you know what? He should have told me that 24 years ago when we met. I'm sorry. I'm under the impression he wanted record deals. He wanted this. He wanted that. But it's there. I understand, you know, with Jimmy and Janis dying. Brings me to our next topic. You ready?
Yes.
September 3rd, 40th anniversary of Alan Wilson, Blind Owl Wilson from Canned Heat.
Down to the country.
Yeah, that Spirit in the Sky riff, huh?
Yeah.
4 years before Norman Greenbaum used it. I'm on the road again.
Yeah, and then show how Spirit in the Sky fits in there.
Well, on the road again, it's da-da-da-da-da-da, and then like da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da.
In the sky.
Yeah, the riff from Spirit of the Sky is the melody to On the Road Again. But that's okay. So Al Wilson was found
Only
dead.
11 notes in the universe, Joe.
I know.
You know that, but most people don't know. Now, they repeat higher and higher to get the same note higher, but essentially there's only 11 notes to work with. Isn't it amazing how many things we've been able to write that didn't sound alike?
Well, I think there's really only 7 notes.
Yes?
You know, and you've got like do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do. That's like 7. Yeah. So
we have half steps in our
right, but I'm saying 7 for a specific reason.
Okay.
Without the half steps, the 7 notes correspond to the 7 colors, correspond to the 7...
Oh, the Roji Biv colors?
You know, you've got there's certain frequencies, there's certain things that the universe is built on, and everything is vibration.
Yeah.
So color can turn into sound, and that's what alchemy is based on.
When we had our giant 28-inch screen, which was big at the time, TV set, there was a color TV oscilloscope. When we played Sgt. Pepper, for instance, every note had its own color. So it wasn't just one thing going all the same way. A purple line would go this way, and the orange line would go the other way. I wish that's what I'm going to do I'm going to have a video for a song, and rather than posing for the camera, we're going to just have the oscilloscope show you what that music that you're hearing, exactly what it looks like. It's so much fun. I think I interrupted you, Joe.
No, you didn't interrupt me. You're talking, and while you're talking, I'm putting a drum set on the screen. We got a drum set in the other room.
Uh-huh.
So when people are now looking at a drum set in a tree instead of me.
I see.
And now they're back to me. Isn't that cute? I mean, what the heck? It's there. Use it.
I got to go into the computer room and see if I can dial you up today.
Well, here's what I got behind us. Joe LaRocca had a bunch of CDs, like about 100 CDs, and I found Fox Pass.
Hi, Joe.
Ian Lloyd, Spanky and Our Gang,
Uh-huh.
Stacy Rose, Jeff Healy Band, and Vanessa Kafka. Anyone calling into Soapbox tomorrow night can win a Vanessa Kafka record.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep, we'll give them away. You want to win a Buzzy Linhart record? Call in. We'll give you a copy of Buzzy's Buzzy.
Right.
I just have to write to Art, and we'll get a copy of Buzzy's Buzzy. That's all.
Promise, we'll get it to you.
So anyone listening, if you want a copy of Buzzy's Buzzy, our studio, you can only have one. You email us. Go to Facebook, put in my name, facebook.com, Joe Viglione. You'll find the Buzzy Linhart page. Are you there, Buzz?
Yes, I'm right here.
So Al Wilson lived the next town over, Arlington, and we're in Winchester right now.
Uh-huh.
On September 3rd, he died in California, allegedly of a heroin overdose. September 4th, he was supposed to play with Hendrix in Germany. Okay?
And can you tell me what year? I forgot what year we're talking.
1970. So September 3rd, 1970, Al Wilson was dead, but the manager didn't know it, so he put Canned Heat on a plane, and Canned Heat went and performed with Cat Mother and the All Night Newsboys, Alvin Lee in 10 Years After, and Jimi Hendrix at this big festival in Germany.
Outstanding.
On the 4th. 14 days later, September 18th, we lose Jimmy. Okay, the 18th. Now hold that thought. The 18th of September. 16 days later, we lose Janis Joplin. So on the 3rd, we lose Wilson. 15 days later, we lose Hendrix. 16 days later, we lose Joplin. Almost like J. Edgar Hoover timed it. 3 27-year-old rock stars. Do you know what Al Wilson did that was so upsetting to the FBI?
Told the truth? No, what?
He had an album called Future Blues.
I see.
And he was very ecologically minded, like you. So he had the planting of the flag at Iwo Jima happening on the moon. So you got Canned Heat in spacesuits planting the flag at Iwo Jima on the moon, stressing that we're wrecking the planet. But the flag was right side up on the pole, but the stars and stripes were upside down.
Oh, my God.
So J. Edgar Hoover was not pleased.
Not happy. That's against the law to have the flag upside down. And that's silly in itself because you want to have they're saying that you have to have the field of stars on the upper left. Well, what happens when the flag blows the other direction? Then it's a different direction. So the whole idea is just very...
Is that against the law to have the flag upside down?
If you have it upside down or sideways, it's supposed to be displayed improperly, but there's no way to avoid it. When the wind blows the flag the other direction, the stars are going to be on the upper right. So,
and it's almost communistic in the eyes of some patriots.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you had Hendrix's involvement with the Black Panthers, even though he didn't want to be involved. That must have really sent a shiver up J. Edgar Hoover's spine.
I know.
And his dress.
And after Jimmy tried so hard to not take sides in any of that, too, right?
And then Janis, well, there's a number of stories about Janis. But 7 or 8 heroin users died that night along with Janis.
Really?
Yeah, and that only came out much later. We didn't hear that when she initially died. That didn't come out.
And they were in different cities?
No, they were all around the same area in L.A.
So that means it could have been hot dope, Joe.
It was, but I think it was intended for Janis, and the others were collateral damage to kind of cover it up.
I see. Oh.
Because The Scars of Sweet Paradise, which is a book, I have to get a copy of it. I believe that her fiancé, Seth, who she had only recently met, and remember, Janis was more gay than she was heterosexual.
Yes, sir.
So she was playing the hetero thing, but she really liked women more.
And she was more heroin than she was liquor, but the old granddad bottle on stage made such a great prop.
Oh, yeah.
usually full of tea.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, because you can't control how fast you get drunk when you're shooting from the bottle. So
She was drinking tea.
yeah,
I had no idea. Oh, that's classic.
really wonderful.
Who told you that?
People close to it, people through Albert Grossman, her manager.
Oh, that's classic, Buzzy. So, all right, so Joplin had this fiance, Seth, and her dealer was very, very good about making sure she never got hot dope. It was always cut.
Gotcha.
Allegedly, the fiance and the dealer, who did not know each other, were on a plane together earlier. Okay, I don't know how much earlier. I have to go back and look at the book. So you got these two big people in her life, okay, connected somehow. She hardly knew Seth. She had only met him months earlier.
Uh-huh.
She had called on the Saturday, she had called the town hall to get a marriage license, but they were closed.
Oh, my God.
So one of her last phone calls that day was to the town hall, and it was closed, and she wanted a marriage license.
Oh, no. She would have been married, and he would have got the money.
So there's all this weirdness, right?
Horrifying.
And maybe the dealer offed her for a reason. But there's another theory. You got the J. Edgar Hoover theory that he wanted all three dead. And we haven't addressed that in our book on Hendrix. But there's that J. Edgar Hoover specter in the background. We must get the files on Joplin, Hendrix, and Al Wilson from the FBI.
Uh-huh.
Whatever they've got.
Wow.
Then you've got this whole other theory that some Hell's Angels had broke into the hotel and beat her up and overdosed her.
Uh-huh.
Because she had a broken arm, a broken nose, and a bruised arm, which really doesn't sound like a hot shot could cause a broken nose.
Oh, you could fall, but, you know, but you're not usually standing. You couldn't fall that well.
Right. Because I know a certain record producer that collapsed, and he just collapsed. Kerplunk. It wasn't like a hard locomotive. You know, so... now, the Joplin family, I hear, is very protective about her last days.
Uh-huh.
I just reviewed this, the last 24 hours of Janis Joplin. And the Joplin family is very protective, so this stuff is not in there.
I see.
About all this. The only thing in there is that she called the town hall looking for the marriage license.
Uh-huh.
But the dealer was meticulous about not giving her bad dope. And isn't it odd that so many junkies died that night?
Sure is.
You know, contemporaneous and a nice cover-up if they were after this big, big star.
But Joe, I think I've told you about this other thing before, but everybody listening wouldn't have heard. Did I ever tell you how that I was in a play about Janis Joplin?
No.
It was called, and I did not like the title, but in the L.A. Times, the morning after it happened, said Janis Joplin, you know, passed away, shot of overdose of heroin at the Magic Hotel, which is down the hill from the Magic Castle, the famous magic place where people pay to go see amazing magic. And she said she was dressed only in a short nightgown and panties. So the girl who wrote the show I was in, I'm so sorry I can't remember her name, titled it Short Nightgown and Panties, which was very artistic, but certainly there could have been a better way to try to let people know that it was about Janis. I played the part, which I inherited. Dean Stockwell directed it, okay, my hero, and Tommy Kaye originally played the part of Cowboy, who was in this made-up story during which they used hundreds of quotes from Janis Joplin. That's what the lady did. She got all these quotes. It's a good idea. We could do it with something else sometime, Joe. So they had all these quotes, and then there was a scene in the dressing room where Janis, because of the content of the play, was able to use, or the Janis lookalike, was able to quote all these great, great heavy-duty quotes that Janis said. She wasn't just a great singer, she was totally hip. So I took over the part of cowboy, which was very shock-a-peefy because I had been offered to be her sidekick on a tour, on a duet tour, and she had agreed to it. It was her management's idea. We met in private, we sang. She agreed to it if I wanted to, but you know, she put her hand on my arm and she said, "You don't need me, baby. I'll only F you up. I'll only mess you up. But if you want to do it, I'd love to do it." And because of what she told me, I decided not to. And every day of my life, I'm saddened by the fact of understanding that they wanted me there because I was drug-free. I was 7 years completely drug and alcohol-free, no cigarettes, nothing. And they wanted me to try to balance her extremism. But her manager didn't say, "Buzzy, come on, let's save Janis's life." He just wanted to do a deal on an album, and he was demanding 50% of everything I owned for the rest of time, or as long as he managed me. And that, as anybody will tell you, is just not a wise idea and not fair. But I kick myself every morning.
Well, yeah, they know the position they're in because they can make stars.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, right now we look at the Eagles, and Irving Azoff is what? Ticketmaster, right?
Yes.
And Irving Azoff, the Eagles, and Irving Azoff had Full Moon Records. So while he was president of MCA, he had Chicago on Full Moon Columbia, and he had Grand Funk on Full Moon Warner Brothers. And, excuse me, Buzzy, the guy's managing the Eagles, he's running MCA Records, and he's got Chicago on Columbia, and he's got, you know, Grand Funk on Warner Brothers, and it's like, hello, he's on every friggin' label.
How can he lose?
Exactly, and how could you lose not going with Irving?
Yeah.
He really had the whole industry and still does.
And that's why so many people are going. And that's what we like to talk about on this show, folks, is you don't have to have a criminal police force because they know how to take care of you better. It's just not so. We want honest people in every possible situation. You know, the power.
Well, yeah, you know, I'm not making any judgments on Irving or Albert Grossman or anyone. I'm just saying how it is, how the playing field is.
Sure.
And right now, the biggest record label in the world is going to be Live Nation, the touring company. They gave Madonna a bundle, and she's on the label. And U2 is going to sign with them.
I am?
Huh?
All right. Sorry. I thought that would be funny.
So now, you know, U2 and Madonna, and sometimes your jokes throw me off because I don't know that it's a joke.
Okay.
Sorry, but...
It's okay.
You know, now Live Nation has this record label, so they really are Live Nation. There's no way around it. But that's a great story about Janis, and there's the connection between you and Marty Ballin, both knowing these major people. So the final night of Janis, according to legend, Seth didn't show up at the hotel. Her girlfriend, Peggy Caserta, who was dating Marty Ballin, didn't show up at the hotel.
She the one that wrote the book?
Going down with Janis.
Yep.
Marty Ballin was allegedly at the hotel, and Janis wanted him to... Or they were out drinking earlier, and Janis wanted him to stay over, and he didn't. And so she was alone. But it was Peggy and Seth that really upset her because she was seeing both of them.
I see. Yeah, sure.
Sounds like Whitney and her girlfriend and Bobby Brown, right?
Yeah.
These rock stars need to have like a girlfriend and a boyfriend. It's kind of like Mick Jagger. I got a great quote for you from Jimmy Miller. You ready?
Yeah.
They're cutting eggs all on Main Street, and he said the chef said, Mr. Miller, or the maid, Mr. Miller, I am so confused. I never know how many breakfasts to bring up. Last night he had 3 girls up there. Tonight he has 8 boys up there. And Jimmy said Mick Jagger was the most bisexual person he had ever met in his life.
Uh-huh.
He said Mick just had to satisfy both sides.
Uh-huh.
And that's a great little story.
He wants to be our biggest star, and you gotta
Gotta please them all.
share the love.
Hey, someone's sending me an email, so why don't you talk?
Okay.
I'm going to put the drums up there, and it's Frank Novo.
Okay, guys. Now, while Joe's not here, when he gets back, we're all going to sing Happy Birthday. It's not his birthday, but it'll really surprise him.
Nah, sing something else.
Okay. You got to have friends like Joe Viglione to feeling so strong. You got to have friends to make that day last long. I had some friends, but they're gone. Right on. Something came and took them away, and from the dusk to the dawn, here is where I'll stay. Standing at the end of the road, boys, waiting for my new friends to come. I don't care if I'm hungry or cold. I'm gonna get me some, because you got to have friends. Ba ba da da ba 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 friends. To get that. I had some friends, but they're gone. Wow, 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 wow. Something came and took them away, and from the dusk to the dawn, wow, 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 bow, 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 bow. Rescue me. That's where I got the idea from. Here is where I'll stay, Joe.
Really?
Yeah, it's the horn break in Rescue Me by Martha and the Vandellas. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum. Rescue me, hold me in your arms. And we can't sing it because we don't have permission. So anybody who wants their music done, just give us permission, and we're going to start playing some songs soon, right, Joe?
Absolutely.
And wow,
There's a band actually setting up in the next room. I had them on the show.
Oh yes?
Yeah, there's some band. They're setting up in the next room. So they were on TV. They didn't know it. We've got another 8 minutes.
I'm on a new record called A Tribute to Bad Lyrics, compiled by Pat Moriarty. He's the great cartoonist, of course, who did Drifting with Buzzy, a little mini comic book.
Drifting with Buzzy. Did that have anything to do with Hendrix?
No. Pat is one of the artists who collects something called song poems in all magazines and comic books through the 30s and 40s and 50s, in between the ad for the Sea Monkeys and the X-ray vision specs. There was always a thing saying, could you write a poem that could become a hit song? And you send in your poem, and they actually would write little tunes and arrange them and sell to the artist. I mean, these were never released. This is something that you might write a song for your mom, or you want to sing Happy Birthday at your uncle's wedding, and so I don't know how much. They'd pay $75 and get maybe 10 or 15 45s of their song. The lyrics to some of them are so bad that it's really, really exquisitely entertaining. Many people collect bad song poems, and they have meetings and they trade them on the web because, somebody writing improperly is just as entertaining as watching people who can't sing audition for American Idol. It's so silly what they come up with sometimes. So, Matt Moriarty wants to know, if you were to take something with terribly bad lyrics, but balancing it with a really good arrangement and really excellent voices, would it be possible to stimulate a hit and have everybody overlook the bad lyrics or not even notice?
Absolutely.
Pat Moriarty has picked out, and we all know, we've heard things on the radio that just don't make sense why they're there. We all said, why is that working? So he has released a thing of 21 songs. He's done near 200 album covers, by the way. He's so prolific, and he works for R. Crumb part-time, actually drawing R. Crumb stories that Crumb has not enough time for, so he's just perfect cartoonist. He has gotten 21 bands who he figured they kind of owe him a favor because he gave him a deal on their record covers. 21 of us have, for no money, rearranged 21 of the worst song poems that we've ever heard. And I think it's going to be a hit record, Joe. I really, really do. And I get to perform one. Dave Davies' son does a song. Dan Davies is his name, I believe. It's really good because he's invited really good bands. And I'm going to get permission. Well, we'll just send you one, but permission for us to
play them here.
Oh, they're so funny, man. The Scat Car. The guy sings. You swear it's Jim Morrison. And then it just doesn't make sense. But the arrangement is so good. The beat is so good. 21 songs to study. And you even get an extra disc in there that's all the original song poems as performed by these famous studio musicians who made money helping create little songs for people who wanted to write something for whatever reason. So get ready for a tribute to bad lyrics, and we'll play some next week. I crack up just thinking about it, and it shows you, friends, that
is it out? Is it just about to come out?
He just got the pressings. He's mailing them to the people in the band. He wants them to all have copies, and it just came out yesterday.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh yeah, get him in touch with me. Have him send some copies over here. We'll exploit it.
I love it, Joe. And wouldn't it be funny if it stimulated? It's good to be a great singer and a great band, but where does the greatest band in the world? The greatest band of all times. Oh, that's the best singer that ever lived. I don't think so. There's too many different styles for one person to be the best singer. So it's time that that's why I like people with a sense of humor, because I don't want people feeling, worshiping me like a god just because I write some great songs. And it's up to people, Dylan encourages people to not get into that worshiping thing. Don't follow leaders, watch your parking meters. He really, really wants us to be strong and individual.
It is now 7:58 in Boston, but we're probably going over by 3 or 4 minutes, who knows. And for some strange reason, the clock says 45 minutes on the tape. I don't know why that because it started, I got it, it started 10 minutes early. Got it. Okay, don't worry about what I said.
Hiya, kids, hiya.
Here's something interesting, Buzz.
Foggy?
We got Frank Delastrido calling in tomorrow night. He did the book Vampire Over London, Bela Lugosi in Britain, and we're doing a Lugosi festival, which started last week. So every Friday night after our show, we do a Lugosi movie.
That's so great.
Yeah, the Ape Man tomorrow night. But Dr. Arthur Lenig wrote a book called The Count, The Life and Films of Bela Dracula Lugosi.
Uh-huh.
And it's very expensive on the web, right?
Yes.
Then he rewrote it, and they sent me a copy. A university press put out a marvelous, huge edition. And I wanted the original, but it was very expensive. I found a copy at a library, so I offered to buy it, and they said, no, we don't feel like selling it, right?
Uh-huh.
They discarded it and put it in the book sale, and I got it for like 10 cents. It's worth like $60. I told them it was valuable. I offered to pay them like 20 or 30. They said no, and they threw it away. What is wrong with these libraries? They're throwing books away. Why are they the caretakers of knowledge with, in Medford they just threw away dozens of books the other night. It broke my heart, and they wouldn't listen to me. I said, don't throw them away. We'll give them away. We'll bring them to the old folks' homes. What are you doing? Buzzy, it's insanity.
I know, and it's killing the past.
It's killing the past. I said, do you realize that every critic, every writer, every author is involved in this book? And all the people that put blood, sweat, and tears into it. And they don't, it's a product. And I said, you're part of the Friends of the Library? She said, yes. I said, some friend. Why would I want my intellectual property with you? I mean, my God, what's wrong with these people, Buzz?
How to be the Peter principle.
How can we save the world? Anyway, we're winding down. It's the end of the night. There's some musicians on the stage in the next room. Here we are on the Buzzy Linhart Show with Joe Vig. It's about 8 o'clock on the East Coast and 5 o'clock on the West Coast.
Ooh, yeah.
Sing Love as a Symphony as we fade out into the night.
Sometimes I feel the way I felt like yesterday, and then the feeling may carry me far away to a place where your face brings me home. Love is a Symphony, ladies and gentlemen. Please tune in next week for the Buzzy Linhart Radio Show with my partner, producer, Joe Vig, the Viglione man.
Come on in.
The band's arriving.
The band's arriving, and I hear someone knocking, but that's okay. Someone's writing me that I have a copy of Drifting with Buzzy if you ever want to see it. I said yes. I have a copy of Drifting with Buzzy. What's Drifting with Buzzy?
That is that's a little cartoon book written by or conceived by Pat Moriarty. When I first met him, he had been doing freelance work, and I said, look, man, I got all this big following, and I wrote for Cosby and blah, 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 and Carly was my girlfriend and la-ti-da, and I said, you should write a thing about me and make me into a star, and then I'll share with you. I said, but I think it's ready to go if I just had the right exposure.
Well,
so
you see, Buzzy said star, and I put a star.
Reviews and stuff on me, and he picked one out. It was the Scene magazine, the rock paper from Cleveland for 40 years now. Scene magazine did a cover story on me, and there's a picture of me on the cover, and he picked that out. He took it home, and he wrote a comic book around the interview verbatim with exactly the words that were. It was so smart. And he had to, of course, invent what the reviewer looked like. A famous guy. He's the lead singer of Per Ubu.
Oh, I know him.
His writing name, then you know, is, or may not, Crocus Behemoth.
I know Crocus. I've known him for 30 years.
Oh, you gotta see. And he hasn't seen this yet. We gotta send it to him, Joe. It is so hilarious, and it's my history